In recent years, high market rents, particularly in our cities, have driven more families onto Housing New Zealand waiting lists. There are hundreds on Wellington's list. 67 families are classified as high priority. While they wait, many of them are homeless, bunking down in overcrowded rooms with friends and relatives, and that's if they're lucky. Over the last few days, reporter Fenna Owen has checked in with one of those families, a family who describes themselves as the new face of New Zealand's homeless.
This is the Piercy Hamilton family, mum, dad and 4 active boys, homeless. It's Monday night and the family arrive at a friend's place, a roof over their heads for the next few days.
It's ridiculously hard. I'm feeling much worse than I did the other day.
The other day we caught up with the family at their sleep out. It's behind Michelle's parents' house, but because of stresses within the family, they can't stay on here. Michelle feels most sorry for the boys.
They're tired, they don't sleep well anymore. They're moving, not knowing where they're going to stay. They don't know where they're going to be this Christmas, neither do we.
So how did the family get into this state? Michelle is studying at Massey to be a nurse. Tony is a mechanic, off work this year due to a spinal problem. They live on a mixture of welfare and student allowances. Earlier this year, they were happily renting here in Miramar until the plumbing packed up.
There was a sewage leak and it spilled out of the drains and it spilled onto the drive at the side of the house and all underneath the house, and the landlord wouldn't fix it.
One of the children developed asthma, the other skin infections.
Well, these are just 2 of the sores. He's got more sores down his leg and he's got a big fungal infection growing up his foot.
They then moved into an uncle's house in Lower Hutt while he was away for a fortnight.
The kids commuted into Miramar North every day, early mornings, late nights, and that was pretty hard, and then into Lyell Bay to a friend's place so that they could be closer to school. Here to mum and dad's for a little while.
This is actually a good friend of mine.
A friend lent Tony this vehicle for storage. It's a cupboard that's parked wherever the family is staying.
We'll move this as well. We'll try and jam a bit more stuff in here.
The family say they have around $24 left over a week to spend on food, petrol and emergencies. The kids just want somewhere to run around and be boys.
We don't really get that much space.
Yeah, not really much.
We don't have all of our toys to play with.
There's a certain amount of shame in not being successful for your children. You know, there's a huge amount. You feel like you've really failed.
Back in August, they applied to the council for housing.
And the only way we could apply with them is if we had the dog euthanased, and then they said we'd still be waiting about 2 years for a house.
You mean for a council
For a council flat, yeah.
But they suggested that that you should euthanize. He's growling at that suggestion.
Yeah, he doesn't like that.
Then the couple registered with Housing New Zealand.
You ring someone, they put it on their computer that you've rung, the time, what you spoke about, and then that's it. They can't tell you anything. They can't tell you whether the waiting list is, 6 months, a year. You've got no idea.
Here's a family who's clearly in the most need, who has children who are getting sick and doing worse at school, who've been out of secure housing for several months now. And if they're not in the most need, then, I don't know who is.
Greens MP Holly Walker has a special interest in Michelle and Tony's case. She believes they represent a growing number of middle New Zealand families hit by high living costs. Michelle is certain of that.
There are many families like us, hidden away somewhere, and people would never know.
And Michelle suspects her family's middle New Zealand look may count against them.
We look like any other family that lives in any other nice area. I know I'm sure that the people on the waiting list are incredibly needy, but we are too.
You might be disadvantaged in some way then?
Yeah.
It seems as though, well, these people shouldn't have a problem, why can't they find somewhere to live? They seem like they've got it all together. So there may well be a bias that is exerting itself on them in some ways.
I would like a one-story with like 4 or 3 bedrooms, a big backyard.
The kids will have a big backyard at friend Louise's place even if it's just for a few days.
You don't really realise what's actually happening out there to other people, and that there's not the homes out there for them. Living in Wellington, it's expensive to rent. No, it's really expensive, and it's a struggle.
It's like that, day to day, week to week. We just don't know how long it's going to go on for.
Housing New Zealand can't release details of their waiting list, but the Greens have written to its chief executive about this Wellington family. Kiwis who never imagined they'd be destitute in their own country.
And I, for years, believed that New Zealand was the ultimate country to live in. But this is too hard.